It's time for Expert Alert, your chance to ask questions and get answers from experts.
Good morning. Thanks for joining us here on WLOX's Expert Alert. We're here every Thursday morning talking to the experts. No, we're talking to the experts every Thursday morning. So listen, if you are joining us on any of our streaming platforms other than Facebook, you need to log into our Facebook account, go to WLOX-TV if you want to ask questions of our expert. You'll ask them here in the comments, and sometimes I miss them, but I have a producer in my ear who's really good at reminding me that I need to look here. So if you want to ask questions, please do that on our Facebook page in the comment field, and I will get those questions straight over to our expert today, Justin Allen and Michael Price, eAgent and Gulf South Mortgage. Gentlemen, how are you today?
Doing fantastic.
Yeah, doing great.
Yeah.
It is. It's Thursday morning. It's early. Let's get started. Justin, give us kind of. I know we kind of talk. This is how we start every segment with you. Yeah. Is like give us a pulse check of the market right now.
It's heating up really well. I would say we're starting to see a lot more buyers enter the market, and they're starting to make those preparations right for the summer move and getting kids out of this school into this school, those kind of things. So it's it's seasonal, but we're seeing that constantly every year. But this year it seems to be a little bit more. Everybody's used to the interest rates, I think, a little bit more now.
Yeah.
And I think we're heading in that direction too for a busy summer.
It feels unfair to say we're getting used to the interest
I
rates.
know, but it's been a few years now. It's been a few years.
I guess.
The first year was hard. Now after that, everybody's starting to kind of. What's interesting now, I found a stat not too long ago where we have more people at 6.0 and above than we do at 3.0 and below. Mm-hmm. That just switched.
Do you think that's because all those folks sold?
Yeah, I mean, eventually life catches up and you have to make some changes and buy another house or move and those kind of things, and it just is what it is. So you just, that's just part of the deal.
Yeah, I'm part of that team. Mine was like 275.
Yeah,
that'll never happen.
Rough.
I feel like that'll never happen again.
Oh man, it would be difficult to get down to that.
Yeah. I mean, the fact that it was there was just because it was 285, and like a week before we closed, it went down to 275. Just lock it in.
Yeah.
Whatever we got to do, lock that in.
Make it happen.
A 1/10% is the 1/10%.
Yeah,
it's still real money.
But it's for decades.
Sure, exactly. So, are people? Do you notice that people really are focused on buying a place where they want their kids to go to school? Is that a big thing?
It is a big thing. I think what's interesting is that a lot of people, especially when I get with the older crowd that maybe don't have kids or they're out of school, they're in college or whatever, and it's not an issue. I always ask about the school zones, and they say, "Oh, we're not worried about school zones." I'm like, "No, you should be worried about school zones because when you go to sell, those people are going to be worried about school zones. So you definitely need to look at that." And I will say too, for the most part, most of our school zones on the coast are really great.
Right.
That hasn't always been the case in the past, but I shout out to Pass High. When I was at Pass High, it wasn't like top rated in the state, but now it is. So a lot of the schools are in along the coast. So I think we're set up really well for that. And of course, if you're elementary, I think it's more of a issue. I think when you have smaller kids.
Sure. Michael, talk to us about Gulf South Mortgage. What do you do for Gulf South?
So I'm a loan officer there at Gulf South. Been there for about 3 years now. Chris, our owner, has been in the business. It's been open for about 20 years. So every guy that I work with is nicer or better than the next. So it's definitely a difficult place to stand out and be the best one there. So it's a great place. Like we keep our fees low, our rates low. It's a smaller, mom and pop type deal, but we have all the modern flair. Like we keep up with Justin and them and everything that they need. But it's a great place to work. Like it's one of the best places that I could imagine down here. I mean, I went to them from another company based off the fact that I just kept getting beat by them.
Listen, if you can't beat them, join them, right?
Yeah, it's like the process is it's hard to sell a process, right? Unless you've had a bad process, you know what that's like, and a good process, you know what it's like. So one of the things there that I love the most is the fact that our processors and the girls that help us, they have been there all at least 10 years. Yeah. So the system is down, so it makes it easy to know that, if you're in a situation with Justin, we're talking strategy or something for an offer, and you can go in there and say like, hey, we could knock this out in 2 or 3 weeks, you know what I mean? Rather than 30 to 45 days or something. So it's one of the biggest, I think, benefits of working at Gulf South.
I love that you tied in modern flair with Justin.
Mm-hmm.
Enjoy that.
Yeah.
It was kind
Tech.
Of, it was a nice segue. What do you say to those folks maybe right now who are watching that have never bought a house, they're first-time buyers? How would you tell them to? You need to do some homework on the back end before you get into this process, because once you put your name in the pot and you apply for that credit, if you're not ready, you've already applied, and you need to make sure that you're ready before you get that hit, because there's an amount of time where you can if you're buying a house, you have a window where you can have a bunch of different offers, and it's not going to negatively impact you. But what do you need to do beforehand so that when it's time to put that application in, you've got your best foot forward? What are some of those pointers?
So there's 3 things that all lenders look at. We call them compensating factors, right? Number 1 is credit score. So credit score is the hard stop. So at better credit, lower rates, that's true. Lower credit, or if you have certain things on there that need to be looked at, we can do that. We have companies that if I do pull your credit, or I do a soft pull, which is like a single bureau, or you don't really get a tax on your credit by hitting a hard hit, we can take a look at it and see if you are ready. Like what we like to say is it's always when it can happen. It always can happen. Like with any borrower that comes through, sometimes they'll get discouraged. But what I've learned lately, and even just happened to me the other day, I've had a lot of younger borrowers, 27, 28 below, that are coming to me with great questions. And I don't know if it's because of ChatGPT or Claude or one of those things that they're having. The information that they're getting coming to me is, I just told a young girl that was VA the other day, that was like, I can't believe the questions that you're actually asking me, because it doesn't happen often. A lot of people will come in ill-prepared, and we help guide them. I'll give them a long time. They can ask me as many questions as they want. But I would say the biggest thing is your credit score. I can figure out your debt to income, because it's very difficult to figure out what actual incomes we can use, because a lot of people will come in thinking that, okay, I make X amount of dollars, but if you're 1099 like a realtor, tax professional, their job is to write things off and keep them low, but we can only lend on what you tell the government you make. So there's 2 pieces to it. If you come in with a lot of information, don't let that hold you back, like analysis paralysis, where you're kind of looking at things and you're like, I'm not ready yet. And then you think you're ready, and you find the perfect house with Justin and them, and they say, go get you a pre-approval. You come to us and it may be a few months, So it's good to do the homework, get your credit score in line, but let me figure out your DTI. And, they have down payment programs now that are, very, very good if you fit into the box. A lot of people do. So, just take it from there. Just got to have a loan officer that has the time to sit with you and discuss those things, and, ask all the questions you can, because that's the biggest way. I mean, this is the number 1 thing, is don't be afraid to get started.
That was my next question. When you talked about down payment programs, what are some of those programs for those individuals who may not be ready for that step yet? They got everything else in line, but they may not be ready for that.
The down payment.
The large down payment.
Yeah, there's a few different things we'll say. So if you come to me, gifts are one thing that I will instantly say, because the down payment assistance programs, whether it's from the state with Mississippi Home Corps, or it's per lender. We have certain lenders now. We work with about 10 to 15 different lenders at our company that all are starting to offer their own down payment assistance programs that originate from them. So, if you can't fit into a Mississippi Home Corps, because they do have income limits, they do have credit score barrier to entry. So there's certain things that I can figure out personally for you very quickly, really without even pulling your credit score. But you can kind of lean in one way or the other, but there are a lot of programs out there that you may not think you're ready for, but you can get yourself into a house fairly quickly.
Justin, what do you say for those folks who they're ready to buy a house? They come to you, start looking at houses, but they haven't done the homework yet, and they fall in love with a house, and it's like, now they're not ready. How does that? Yeah. How many times does that happen?
A lot.
Often.
Yeah, a lot. It's where he'll get an email or a text going, hey, I need this right now. we're ready to
just yesterday.
Yeah, like he was just saying, before he came in, or you didn't have time to get with an agent this morning on the same issue, right? So I think and sometimes too, you're meeting someone at the home who wants to see the home for the first time, and I'm not a big fan of trying to get them pre-approved before we go see a first house, because I think I haven't met with them. We haven't built rapport yet. I don't even know what their direction is. I don't know their timeline. I don't know a lot of things, right? So I think trying to get to know them and trying to figure out what their end goals are going to be. That's what I need to know first. And then we go, because it's rare what we see the first house and they're ready to go in the first house. I mean, if they are, I'm like, okay, but we need to see maybe a few others.
Pump the brakes.
Yeah, just to make sure it's not just this one house, right? But I think when it comes down to the end of the day, once you get over that first hurdle, you meet with them, you get an idea where they need to go, then I hand them over to Michael or Chris at Gulf South Mortgage, and so they can kind of do everything there to get them primed for making an offer with a pre-approval letter, so it shows the seller that they're serious and they're ready to go and they've already done the steps ahead of time, so they're not just winging it. So that's really the biggest part. What's kind of interesting is I didn't know this earlier on in my career, that a lot of people would think that in order for you to buy a house, you need to pay off your credit cards first. And you don't want to pay off your credit cards, because you don't want those zero balance or closed, right? So I don't know if he wants to talk any about that, but I thought that was really interesting, is that you want to kind of keep those lines open so it shows that your credit is available.
Would you say you just wait until the lender says, listen, we're gonna be able to prove this. We need you to pay off these 4. Is that how it works? Like, don't touch them until the lender says pay off these 4 and we're good.
It happens all the time, where people have a certain pool of money that they need, and I have to look at how to spend this, let's say $7 or $8 grand that they've been saving for years, right? Like 2 or 3 years in some cases. How to spend it wisely without, because it's all a puzzle piece. Every loan's a fingerprint. So when I look at the credit, credit is the toughest part of it, because your credit cards, all we care about as a lender is your monthly payments, your debt to income per month. So if you have a credit card that has a balance of $4,000 or $5,000, that can eat up, half of your down payment. But it only makes, $30 or $40 a month is your minimum payment, on that credit card. So it wouldn't make a huge impact. Whereas if you have a $3,000 or $4,000 loan, an installment loan, like the end of a lawnmower, or, you're at the tail end of your car loan or something to that effect, with the payment that's $400 or $500 for that $3,000, that would be, you would be more apt to say, like, hey, if we have to, we may need to fall back on this particular loan so we can get rid of that larger payment and bring that debt to income back down. But it's definitely, the loan officer needs to get their eyes on the credit report, and kind of that's the key piece, is to kind of go through there and say, like, how do we spend this wisely? Is there a down payment assistance program or down payment program that you can apply that can offset some of those things, so you can use your cash as reserves or savings? Because the more savings and the more reserves you have, the easier it is to get like an approval.
Yeah, I love that you said every loan is a fingerprint, because you can have people walking in with similar credit history, similar credit backgrounds, and maybe debt to income is similar, but everything else can be completely separate, and every situation is very different.
Very, yeah, because there's so many different liabilities on a credit report that different people would have over the years. Like, maybe you've had a rough patch 4 years ago and you think that's holding you back, but in reality, once we apply the guidelines for certain, that kind of gets me back to knowing the guidelines is number one for an actual lender. So you have to know the guidelines. You have to know them. You have to know them back and forth, because as soon as I'm looking at the credit report, and Chris Ladden, our owner, is like a genius at this. He never forgets anything. As soon as you look at the credit report and you start making your way down, your brain is already popping out things like, okay, this is good, I can do this, I can do this. You see this, and from looking at thousands of them over the years that that's not a big deal. It's kind of like when a realtor looks at an inspection report. If you get a realtor who does 50, 60, 70 transactions a year, they're looking at a lot of inspection reports. When you look at it as a home buyer and it comes through to you, they'll catch it and be like, oh man, this is crazy, I can't do this house because of this. We may have Justin right behind you going, look, don't worry about it, I see that in every house that we do, I got a guy for that. Like, we can solve that problem. So it's the same kind of thing with credit. It's like, you don't know what you don't know. Knowing early is a key, and everyone can be approved. It just may take time.
So you mentioned that you have folks that are coming in that are already loaded with questions.
Oh yeah.
They already have done their homework. How many times have you get folks, Justin, that come in and they already know exactly what kind of house they want? You mentioned they see the first house and like, this isn't the one. We're like, this is what I've been looking for.
Well, I think a lot of times, you've got a certain amount of parameters that you go online, you're seeing things, you're on Zillow, Realtor.com, on agents' websites or my website, and you're looking at homes and you think, this is what I want. But I think that you've got a lot more people these days that have kind of done some homework. They've seen 50, 100 homes online, and they like this one over that one, or they like this area over that area. But I think what I have found is once you see 5, 6, 8 homes, now you can make a little bit better decision because
in person.
Definitely in person, because there's certain things that you think you like until you see it, and then you're like, oh no, I don't like that at all. Or there are certain things that maybe you'll see in a house that like you never even thought about. You're like, now I really want that in the house. So you just don't know until you've seen a few, and you kind of, you could see the first one and it's the best one, and then we go see 5 or 6 more, and you come back, no, this is really set the bar high. This is one we want. Sure. But you don't really. I don't feel comfortable about making an offer with somebody unless they're out of town, they're investors, and it's all about the numbers, and this is what they want. They want this duplex in this, in this city.
They're on their 5th house.
Yeah, and they're already ready to go. If they're buying it to live in, it's a little different setup.
I remember when I was looking, it's like when you're looking at 5 or 6 or 7 houses, you don't remember them by the wonderful things that you saw in the house. You remember because the backyard wasn't cut, or there was a weird color on the wall in the office. Like that's how you remember them. You're like, well, I take this. That's how you set them up on the list. I can deal with the backyard, but I can't deal with all the weird colors in the houses. So, have we left anything out?
Well, when it comes to like rates and fees and things for lenders in general, what I would tell everybody is you have to get more than one price. A lot of borrowers that I'm coming to lately that are coming to me have gone with their current bank or one of the big box places, or even us, for instance. And if they trust their realtor enough and they've been doing business with them, and the realtor refers them to us, I'm going to give you the best rate up front. But what a lot of times people need to know is that you don't have to have your credit pulled in order to check the prices. Anywhere that you have a place now, you just tell them what credit score they use, and within 10, 15 minutes, I can at least look at a loan estimate or you can tell me what pricing that they gave you, and I can at least keep them honest, right? Make sure that like if you do want to stay with that bank, no big deal at all. But like you want to make sure that you're getting the best price out there. You don't want to just go with one. You really need to go and shop around and do some looking at rates and fees and things like that, because they do change.
Right. Do you guys originate and manage?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and that's the thing. You go with a developer, and you buy from a developer, and they originate your mortgage, and then before you even make your first payment, it's sold to somebody else.
Correct.
And I think and I got lucky because I ended up with a large big box that was super easy to work with.
Okay.
They were great. That's not always the story.
No. So you're talking about servicing.
Correct. Servicing.
So
Sorry, that's what I meant. Yeah.
We don't service.
You don't service,
We
right.
don't service, no. But we do underwrite through 10 to 12 different lenders. And I do have, if that's a big deal to someone, we do have in that scope of lenders, which is one of the greatest things about working that I love the most. There's a retail side to lending where you have in-house underwriters. If that underwriter says, we can't get past that income, that's it. You could just say, no, I can refer you to somebody else. Maybe a bank can do a portfolio loan or something like that. With us, the thing I love the most is that I have options. So every loan being a fingerprint, I have banks and things that are out of the South that work a lot with oil offshore.
You know where it's going.
Yeah, and I can tell, I can go straight up. They come to me and their fingerprint says like, you have a lot of overtime. You've been at the overtime for less than 24 months. Mm-hmm. So I know that this particular bank is friendly to that income. So I know where I can position them, correctly.
It's not the highest bidder.
Correct. Right. And it's like, and sometimes, I have some that are perfect because they have the lowest rates. And if you have if all of your compensating factors are way into the green, then I know that this person, they're going to give me the absolute best rate I could possibly get. So it's good to have those different options. Mm-hmm. We underwrite through them. So we use their underwriters. They take over the loan once we're done. But I mean, there are also ones that service as well. So if it is important to you where you're like, I don't want my loan sold all the time. And it's really hard to control that because nowadays they all end up at the big.
I just wanted to go to some place where you know them. Like you've recommended this person. It's not just like this person was the best bidder, so you're going to go out to a place in California.
And it is annoying. It happened to me. We don't do our own loans, so I closed with another place, and instantly I'm feeling the same pain as a borrower. I work every day in it, but I'm like, well, okay, it was sold once here, and now it's gone here, and it's only been 3 or 4 months. So it's very difficult to control that. Sure. But yeah, the servicing part of it does mean a lot to some people, and we do have companies that will service it, and if that's a big deal, I can select that.
Awesome. Let's take a look at the house that we have, Justin. What do we have?
Yeah, so this one's over in Shadow Creek, and we'll mark it. It's just under 330, And it's got a huge backyard, great layout, 3-bedroom, 2-bath. It's in that cul-de-sac, part of Shadow Creek over there in Woolmarket. Really close to the interstate, close to Keesler. You've got a formal living, formal dining, or the formal living can be an office. It's an open kind of floor plan with the kitchen having new stainless appliances and trying to think, new paint throughout, and just a really kind of open, more concept there with the cathedral ceilings. And it's got kind of a, I don't know if you'd see it in kind of toward the end of the video, but you've got kind of a larger parcel that you can have access to behind this one. So there's a second parcel that's, over an acre. So good location, great location now I'm thinking about it. But brand new appliances, huge bedroom. There's two huge bedrooms, but this is the master. And you've got the large bathroom there with separate shower, separate tub, 2 different closets. But just got a really great layout and great location and very affordable. And it's kind of ready to go. Like this is the other bedroom, fairly large. But you've got new paint, new appliances, ready to go, and right under $330. So it should be sold fairly soon.
Should be sold.
Every time I bring this, one on, it seems like it's sold the next week or so. So
it's awesome.
Yeah. This is my dad lived in Shadow Creek. This is the exact same floor plan he had.
Okay.
Yeah. Huge house.
Yeah.
Yard.
Huge house, and I remember in that when you're walking into the living room, that little area in the top,
that plant
left
shelf
had the shadow box.
Yeah.
Baseball jersey.
Oh yeah.
So it's a great floor plan. The his and hers closets were and they're huge closets. They're not just like afterthought one-off. They're massive walk-in closets. Yeah. So that's a great one. Well, I feel like we covered everything. You see, Justin, give us your phone number one more time.
228-697-4636.
There you go.
Justin.eagent.com. Again, 228-697-4636. You can reach out to me about any property, anytime you see anything to be fine. And next month, we'll try to hit on some buyer tips, making sure that when you buy a house, making sure that you try to maximize that appreciation. So if you need to sell it later on, or if you need to refinance it, you've got some equity built in there. So
strategy.
What is that? How to maximize that appreciation moving forward?
And if you got questions about the mortgage, Michael Price over at Gulf South Mortgage can get you on the right path to be ready for those questions, ready for that application, so that you can be that next borrower that he is helping to get into that house with Justin and his team over at eAgent. Until then, thank you so much for joining us here on WLX's Expert Alert. We're here every Thursday, though we won't be back here next Thursday because it's the 5th Thursday, and that's how that, those weird months, 5 Thursdays. But we'll be back here on the what is that, the 6th, 5th, 6th, 7th, the first Thursday in May. We'll be right back here with High Tide Plumbing. Until then, have a fantastic weekend, and we'll see you in 2 weeks.
Thank you for joining us for Expert Alert. We'll feature more experts at the same time on Thursday in 2 weeks.